From the fact that tzedakah does not exist in the present, the prophets look to the future. Jeremiah says, "See, a time is coming when I will raise up a true branch of David's line. He shall reign as a king and prosper and act according to right and do justice in the land. Oseh mishpat u'tzedakah. And this is the name by which he'll be called. The Lord is our righteousness, tzidkatenu." Jeremiah 23, verse 5. Tzedakah, in this case, is an aspect of political actions of the ruler. His rule creates peace and a peaceful society. In the Christian tradition of exegesis, Jesus was identified with this ruler, and this identification mirrors the hope of his early followers that Jesus, the Galilean from Nazareth, the hoped-for Messiah, would create justice. Later on, the concrete political implications were spiritualized and thus neutralized. Justice in the New Testament. The New Testament term dikaiosune should also be understood in line with the Hebrew terms of tzedek and tzedakah. This is particularly evident in the Gospel of Matthew. In his Gospel, dikaiosune is stressed over and over again. Above all, dikaiosune is a practice of justice, the fulfilling of the mitzvot of the Torah. And he says, "But first seek his kingdom and his justice," Matthew 6:33. And this admonition to me echoes the verse of Deuteronomy, "Justice, justice you shall pursue." Yet, this echo has been often rendered inaudible since translations often use the term righteousness rather than justice. And last but not least, for Matthew's understanding of justice, it is necessary to look at his description of Judgment Day. Jesus invites the righteous ones with the words, "Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry and you gave me food. For I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me." Matthew 25:34-35. Then the righteous ones ask him, "When did they do all these things to Jesus, for they do not remember?" And Jesus answers, "As you did it to one of the least of my brethren, you did it to me." The message is clear. Those who do concrete works of justice will enter into the kingdom of God. The biblical concept of tzedek tzedakah opens my eyes for Matthew's understanding of dikaiosune. The exegesis has found a special term to describe this form of justice, justitia connectiva. It means acting in a social and communicative way understood as part of the relationship to God. And now I come to a contemporary example where churches are striving for justice, the conciliar process to justice, peace, and integrity of creation. In 1983, the General Assembly of the World Council in Vancouver stated as its goal to engage member churches in a conciliar process of mutual commitment to justice, peace, and the integrity of creation. The scope was subsequently expanded to other churches which are not members of the World Council, as well as to ecumenical organizations and movements committed to the courses. In putting forth this call, the Assembly was responding to a situation of crisis, stating, "Humanity is now living in the dark shadows of an arms race more intense and of systems of injustice more widespread than the world has ever known. Never before had the human race been as close as it is now to total self-destruction. Never before have so many lived in the grip of deprivation and oppression. The call to work globally as well as locally for justice, peace, and the integrity of creation touched a nerve, and subsequently many initiatives were formed. In 1990, a convocation in Seoul affirmed 10 fundamental convictions. They include that the earth belongs to God, that all human beings are equal regardless of their gender, ethnicity, or social status. Justice and human rights are seen as intertwined. The source of human rights, they say, is God's justice, who frees his enslaved and impoverished people from oppression. In the 10 affirmations, there are a number of references made to the biblical understanding of justice. Beside Matthew 25, Deuteronomy, Amos, and Isaiah are quoted, and I can see biblical aspects of tzedek, tzedakah, and dikayus zene have found their way into this ecumenical commitment to justice, peace, and the integrity of creation. I have come upon a study aid from Württemberg, which gives many examples how to integrate the plenty aspects into daily life of a congregations. It tackles concrete questions such as which kind of coffee to use, how energy can be saved, how money is invested, as well as theological questions concerning possibilities of when to preach on these topics during the course of the church year. On a grassroots level, as well as on an institutional level, are a number of activities suggested which contribute to more justice in this world. And in Germany, there are plenty of different activities going on. Working together for justice. Given this short introduction, one may assume that a movement which carries the word justice in its title and which refers in its founding principle more than once to the Hebrew Bible sees Jews as partners in a project striving for peace, justice, and the integrity of creation. And the second European Ecumenical Assembly that convened in Graz in 1997 stated, "We are thankful that discussions has intensified between Christians and churches and Judaism and is giving rise to a new departure in theological teaching and church practice, as a number of recent church documents show. We are also thankful that the number of Jewish congregations is gradually rising again in many countries of Europe, and that Christians again have the chance to live together with Jews and to discover and understand their common heritage. Yet, Jews are not seen as partners in a joint enterprise to pursue justice. And the reasons why Jews have not been identified as partners in the pursuit of justice are multiple, and at this point I'll refrain from speculations. Christians, and especially Lutherans, profit by studying the biblical understanding of tzedek and tzedakah. Furthermore, it is also important to listen to the rabbinical interpretations of tzedakah, which will happen very soon. The Christian, and it seems to me also the Jewish obligation to work for justice, is an obligation towards God, which finds its expression in acting towards one's fellow human beings. Furthermore, the pursuit of justice transcends opinions, values, or good intentions. It does not remain inside our hearts, but it involves our mouths, our hands, and our feet. Acting, rather bearing one's fate, empowers the individual and the community who is no longer passive, but actively engages the world.